Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is process versus outcome. So this is a shift of focus in our experience of life, to be present to the process of doing and being, rather than the outcome. That we want to be looking at both, but so often we get so wrapped up in outcomes or goals that we neglect how it is we go about achieving them, where that is the actual essence of life. So we get to talk about that today. And good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. It's great to have you here with us this morning, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. Before we get started, let's take a minute to get present. Good morning and good evening to you, Gia. Welcome. Great to have you here with us. So let's take a minute to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together and vigorously rub your hands together. Feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, all those feelings, the tickling and tingling, and allow those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome. So we're talking about process versus outcome. Welcome, Rubin. Great to have you here with us this morning. So we so often get caught up in the doing of our lives, where we just have this checklist of things to do, and we put ourselves in machine mode, and we call it productivity and or efficiency, and we just check off all the things on the list. And what gets lost in the shuffle is our beingness, our presence, our awareness of the process itself. And Rosalind says, like a roadmap, you can't just get in your car without a destination unless that's the intention. So the process is akin to the journey on the way to the destination. Yeah, exactly. So here's the thing. We go on a trip, and if our intention is just to get there, we don't necessarily notice all the scenery along the way. We just get there, and maybe we're impatient, and maybe we're stressed out, and maybe we're oblivious to the opportunities and possibilities that can offer us an incredible richness, the incredible richness of life that is along the way. If we're just focusing on goals and destinations, then all the time that we're spending, which is most of the time of our lives, pursuing these things becomes incidental. And we are losing that portion of our lives. You know, to have an intended destination, you know, it's like, great, I'm traveling to, let's say I'm traveling to Texas. If it's just about being in Texas, getting to Texas, then the getting there kind of gets discounted. It kind of gets removed from the equation, where the getting there might be the whole beauty of it. Like the getting there itself, the getting part instead of the there part, could be the richness of the experience. You know, whereas if we're just focused on the destination, we miss the trip. And the trip itself can be the adventure. Oh, Kimberly, welcome, welcome. Great to have you here. I forgot it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. So, you know, we can, it makes me think about the getting there in terms of having a relationship. You know, some people go after having a relationship like it's a job, you know, where it's checking all the boxes and doing all the things, but not really being present. So Ralston says, happy Valentine's Day, my lovelies. And Robin says, sometimes you need to turn the automatic pilot off, enjoy the journey. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for saying automatic pilot, because that's really the point, is that when we put ourselves on this destination or this goal, oh my gosh, excuse me, mindset, then what happens is we're on automatic pilot. So we we essentially check out. And checking out, we're missing our lives. We're missing the best parts of our lives. And you know, like getting a relationship, I know too many people who have gotten in relationship or marriage even because this person, you know, looks good on paper because they check all the boxes, but in the process of finding that person who checks all the boxes, they're actually not present to the experience of that person, and wake up years later saying, oh my gosh, you know, what is going on here? There's really no compatibility, or there's, you know, like, because the beingness of being in relationship was kind of missing in the quest to have that relationship. You know, we go after certain goals. I was in sales for a bunch of years, and it was always about, you know, what your, you know, what your numbers were. You know, how are you going to achieve this number, that number, the other number, whatever, and being measured against that rather than the quality of the service or the quality of the experience or the cultivating of relationship. It was about numbers. When we reduce things to their most basic form, whether it's outcomes or numbers, and not look at the process, we're stripping the essence out of life. And so where this conversation is coming from might seem like a little bit of a convoluted path, but where this conversation is coming from is a talk that I just watched with Rupert Sheldrake, Dr. Rupert Sheldrake, who he's shunned by a lot of traditional scientists but he is a scientist because he he's exploring the things that science just dismisses, like how are psychic phenomena possible? You know, what is consciousness, and is this a conscious universe? And what does it look like if it is? And it was this wonderful talk. It's called I think it's called A Conscious Universe, ? By Rupert Sheldrake. You can find it on YouTube. It's fabulous. And he talks about how Descartes is the founder of this notion of the mechanistic universe, like the universe as a grand machine. And that has permeated all of our thinking, whether we think about, you know, the wheelworks of nature, we think about the body as a machine, we think about nature as a machine. And thankfully, at this time, we're coming present to the vital force behind all of these things, that there's an intelligence of some sort, and perhaps a consciousness that is driving all of these systems, living systems. We're looking at living systems rather than machines. So we're switching, thankfully, slowly, way too slowly, into a recognition of living systems rather than this mechanistic, machine-oriented kind of paradigm that has led us to separate ourselves from the very force of life. So we do that in our lives because, you know, we separate mind from body. We separate humans from nature. And we also separate our accomplishments or our outcomes from the process by which we came to them. So by bringing ourselves back to this awareness of process. Life is process. Life is not an outcome. I mean, if you look at life as an outcome, what's the outcome? It's death, right? I mean, the outcome of life is death, ultimately. And this, you know, continuing cycle, but in each of our lives, the outcome, what's the ultimate outcome, is going to be dying, right? Like that's when our life gets terminated, so to speak. If we look at it in those simplistic ways, whereas really life is process. It's the richness that occurs between the beginning of life and the end of life. And to reduce it to the outcome is the height of ridiculousness. It misses the entire point, doesn't it? You know, that the point, life is for the living, right? Life is here for us to live. And it is that process of our experience of life and our interactions with other life forms and the universe that is the essence of life itself. So when we're outcome driven, I mean, that kind of is an example that points out the absurdity of just being outcome driven, being the doingness instead of the beingness. We miss the whole point. We miss the whole point. And that's not to say that we don't have things that need to get done. You know, there are things we need to do. And that's a given. I'm not debating that. And the doing of it is as important and frequently more important than the doneness of it. So Rosalind says, sometimes we can feel like is one roadmap to ask, what is it to be more like nature? What is our essence that is driving or guiding? What is it like? What is it to be more like nature? So Rosalind, I have to say, I'm thrilled that you asked that question, because I've been putting together the next several movie night offerings. And the first one is a talk, and this is awesome too. Check it out. It's called Janine Benyus, JANINEBENYUS, on biomimicry. It's from 2006. She's one of the largest proponents of biomimicry. Biomimicry is really allowing nature to be our teacher, because nature's been around for forever and has solved all kinds of problems, quote unquote problems, that we encounter with much greater elegance and brilliance than we have. And so biomimicry is looking to nature's solutions, nature's methods to generate the technologies and functions and solutions that we're looking to create. So like nature creates energy without big, that, I think that's great. Yes, Dido, thank you for chiming in. That's Janine Benyus. But if you look on YouTube, you'll find the talk I'm talking about. It's called Janine Benyus on biomimicry. If you search that on YouTube, you'll find her 2006 talk. And it is freaking magical and brilliant. I mean, she talks about how we create paint. And we create paint with pigments that are toxic and materials that are toxic, right? Well, then she gives the example of the colors on a butterfly's wings or a peacock. And she says that the colors in the butterfly, it's all brown. The pigment is brown. Thank you so much, Dido, for sharing that. And if you want to, you could check out the Rupert Sheldrake YouTube, also called Conscious Universe ? But anyway, the way that the butterfly's wings and the peacock feathers are colored is through something called structural color that refracts and reflects light in particular ways that causes us to perceive these spectacular colors. And it's non-toxic, and it doesn't have to get repainted. It's structural. So fascinating ideas that we can learn, and technologies that we can learn from nature. Like she talks about the lotus effect. The lotus effect is that on the surface of the lotus petals, which is this beautiful white flower that could get horribly dirty, right? Well, there are these little bumps that are positioned at specific distances. Thank you so much, Dido, for posting that link. That are positioned in such a way that when something lands on the flower, the rainwater just washes it away. It doesn't need bleach to stay clean and bright. It just has this structural integrity that interacts with water that just allows it to be self-cleaning. So She posits the idea of what about integrating the lotus effect and the structural color to make houses, paints or surfaces of houses that maintain their color and are self-cleaning, for example. It's freaking brilliant. It's mind-blowing and wondrous and magical and awe-inspiring, and it's talking about process and outcome. So we strong arm things into outcome. That's what we do typically as humans, whereas nature has this magnificent elegance. So Kimberly says, I've been struggling to get time to focus on things that are most important to me, and the busyness of the day and responsibilities daily routine have taken me through a feeling that there's not enough time in the day. Kimberly, you are not alone in that experience. And the thing about it is, and we've talked about this in prior talks about prioritizing, and you can kind of divide things into 4 quadrants. Above the line is important, and on either side of the line is urgent. So the upper, let me think, I have to turn it around because things are turned around here. The upper left quadrant is important and urgent. The upper right quadrant is important but not urgent. And that's what you're talking about, Kimberly, is the things that are really important to you. We get to make time for those. There's so much time that we spend in the not urgent and not important category. Things that we really could, they seem like they're a demand on our time. But the truth is that we could really eliminate a whole bunch of them. And there are a bunch of things that are urgent, but not important. In other words, things that maybe are calling for our immediate attention, but they may be able to be delegated. They may be things that are not important to serving our best and highest interest, and we can find other ways to attend to them, or we can even sometimes dismiss them entirely. So really, as far as this time thing, it requires us being more discerning about our values and what's important to us. Robin says, my thoughts, be selective of what you ask or pray for someone or something to come into your life. Ask, pray that you're prepared to recognize this has come to fruition for your journey. I love that, Robin. So what you're talking about is discernment and being more accountable for where we put our attention, and recognizing the signals that are being given to us along our pathway, along our journey. And Rosalind says, sorry, my first sentence got cut off. Sometimes we can feel like a bit off kilter, but can't put a finger on it. So I like the idea of going back to nature for a concept to help mend, heal, and embrace change. And so I love that you brought us back to the conversation about nature, Rosalind. And nature, in the talk that Janine Benyus did, she says to ask, what would nature do? What would nature do? And there is a presence. When we presence ourselves to nature, there's a peacefulness that arises. For instance, I'm imagining being by a brook, but I'm also hearing the notion of a hurricane. So there's not a peacefulness there. Sometimes nature storms. Yeah. So connecting to process, connecting to presence is really what this comes back to over and over and over again. Melissa, welcome. So good to have you here with us this morning. Really delightful to have you here. Kimberly says, I need to bring back the space and time for me again. There's so much healing and growing here. Yes, for all of us, Kimberly, there is. That's what we're up to. Is it all emerges from presence, because when we're present, we can be present to the process. So there's presence in the moment, and then there's process, which is presence plus time, right? Presence plus time is process, because there's the action that occurs over time. So being present to whatever that transformation is that moves through time, that's the living system. And that is process. So let's endeavor to be putting our attention on the process of getting to the outcome, because it is as important, if not more important, than the outcome itself. Because the ends does not justify the means. And Robin says, patience for timing, your highest good, walking in nature, you will get answers. Kimberly says it's exciting. I agree. There's so much available that we miss when we get hyper-focused on outcome. There's all kinds of messages, all kinds of communication with the universe. Robin says, nailed it, presence and time. So with that, I'm going to call it a morning. And I'm Mira Rubin here with you on the Core Connection. I go live each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel at 9 a.m. Eastern each weekday morning. Please check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living. And until next time, I just want you to know how grateful I am for your rich engagement, your authenticity. And until next time.